and Eulogy by Daughter BB Liu, July 8, 2021. A few days after my mother passed away, we went up to her house in Westchester to sort through some of her possessions. Her tenant on the second floor said to us, "I'm going to miss seeing your mother's car pull into the driveway, and her jumping out of the car, yelling hello, and running into the house." Her car mechanic said to us, "You know, Sue always went at 110 miles per hour. Even when I was changing the oil on her car, she would always say to me, 'Are you done yet? Are you done yet? I have somewhere I have to go.'" Those stories made me smile, because that was definitely my mom, someone who was so energetic and vibrant, and brimming over with plans and activities. I do want to share with 3 things that you may not know about my mom. The first thing is that my mom really made the world bigger for me and my brother. When we were growing up, money was very, very tight, but she still took us on the subway to Manhattan to go to all the world-famous museums. She would pay a small suggested contribution, or we would go when it was free. And she would say to us that it's so important to learn about the art and culture that New York City has to offer. She would also take me, her daughter, to browse the upscale boutiques on Madison Avenue, where we couldn't afford to buy even a single scarf. And she would say that it's not important we can't afford to buy things. What's important is that we learn how it is that people dress. Once, my mom got this book of coupons for different restaurants, and it was wonderful, because she went through the coupons one by one, and took us to all these different places we had never tried before. We would get something small, like an entree to share, but she really wanted us to see what it was like to be in these different environments that seem out of reach. That was my mom, someone who would never let poverty slow her down. Later, when I was a young adult, my mother encouraged me and my brother to apply to all the best high schools and all the best universities, including the Ivy Leagues. She encouraged me to apply to a Young Asian American Leaders Conference in Washington, D.C., where we got to meet senators and congressmen. She also encouraged me to apply to work camp in Germany, where I traveled by myself to Europe for the first time, where I met other international volunteers, and we cleared away the weeds from a concentration camp. That was my mom, someone who would never say not to an experience we wanted because it was foreign to her. She would always encourage us to do it. And later, as a grandmother, it was my mom who really pushed me to apply to private school for her grandson Aiden. The private schools seemed so out of reach because they have such high tuition, and I didn't have social connections with other families who attended them. But she really pushed for this. Aiden is now in a wonderful private school, and we were able to get an excellent financial aid package. I don't think I would have done this had it not been for her. The second thing you should know about my mom is that she worked really hard at the things she cared about. One way she was able to pull us out of poverty was by investing in real estate. She didn't just invest in real estate, but she really studied the real estate books. She owned hundreds of books and workbooks and pamphlets and workshop materials. They were all written in English, which was her second language, but she spent the time to read every single sentence. In the margins of all these materials are her handwriting, in Chinese, setting forth her calculations, and notes, and questions. She worked so hard at that. She was also so proud of her garden in the front yard, where she grew so many different flowers. My mom actually took a bunch of small posits, and on each one, she wrote the name of a flower. She would spend hours arranging the posits over and over on a piece of paper until she had the perfect configuration, and only then would she actually plant the flowers. And she always accessorized with scarves and purses and jewelry. This was something she worked on. In her spare time, she would try on clothes and accessories, and makes notes in a notebook about which combinations look good together. She really put effort into the things she was passionate about. The third thing I want to share is that she took so much joy in life and really enjoyed herself on earth. Whenever she rode a roller coaster, you could hear her screaming in joy when it dropped. When she bakes cookies, she would take one fresh out of the oven, go into the living room, sit down, and take her time just eating just that one cookie. She would eat slowly, savoring every bite. Whenever we traveled together, she would take tons of photos. Each evening, she would go over those photos one by one, so she could relive the moments of the day and make more comments about what she liked and didn't like. That was my mom really living life to the fullest and really indulging in the joys and pleasures of this planet. I am completely sure that I will see my mom again after I die, in the space between lives that is the true home for every single one of us. But reincarnation theory teaches that no matter how many lives you have with another soul, no life is ever repeated. And that's what makes me the saddest, that all the experiences I had with my mom in this particular life, where she was my mother, and I was her daughter, will never come again. I close now with words written by the author of the Winnie the Pooh books, who once said, How lucky I am to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard. Thank you.